So the A10 has two fuel tanks inside. It has the main tank and the auxiliary, and you can see how much fuel you're left by looking at these gauges here. For example, you can see here I have 250 gallons in my main tank and my auxiliary is empty. So you can select the tank you want to use by using this selector here. The short arrow on the selector is what it's pointing to. So if I want to use my main tank, I put the short side to point to main. And if I want to use my auxiliary, I point the short side to the right like this. Now, whenever you're flying, if you do have fuel in the auxiliary, you're going to want to use that first because if you leave the fuel in there, it can cause center of gravity problems. So you just want to drain out your auxiliary tank first, and then you can go to your main tank. You can also load external fuel tanks onto the plane. You can load one tank on each wing, and you can also load a center tank. You can load the tanks on by clicking / on your keyboard to open the menu on the top right, and then you can click ground crew and rearm. As you can see in the center, you can put on the 108 gallon or 110 gallon tanks. You can also put the same tanks on the wings, or you can put the big 150 gallon. If you're flying with the fuel tanks on and you want to use gas from those tanks, first you need to choose the external fuel tank. Let's say I want to do my center tank. I would select belly here, and then you put this knob to external. If you want to choose a different external fuel tank, you put this knob back to main, and then you put this knob to whatever one, let's say left tank, and then you put it back to external. Now keep in mind, you want to keep the plane balanced out, so if you have wing tanks on, every 30 minutes or so, make sure you switch between the left and right tanks so you can drain fuel from them evenly. Also, there is no gauge to tell you how much gas you have left, so the way you'll know is that the engine will just kind of stop. And once you see the engine kind of stutter and stop, that means the fuel's out and you can just go switch back to your main tank. Now there are 3 different versions of the P-47 in DCS, and jettisoning the tanks is a little bit different in the versions. First, I'll go over how to jettison them in the D30 early version. You'll have these handles back here, and you just pull the handle for the one you want to release. So if I pull it for the belly tank, or for the left one, you can see there goes my left tank, and then I can do the right one, and there goes my right tank, and then this one, and there goes my belly tank. If you are in the later D30 version, the jettison handles are these here. So these two for the left and right. So here's my left tank, and then my right one, and then my middle one. And then for the D40 version, it's the same thing, it's just these handles here. The last thing I want to go over is a note for the fuel meter. So the fuel meter only gives accurate readings when the plane is flying straight and level. So on the ground, you can see the plane's kind of angled up, so the meter's not going to be accurate. So what there is there's actually this card down here you can look at that will show you what the fuel is. So it will show you what the gauge says and how much you actually have. So my gauge says I have about 260 pounds of fuel. So you can see I go 260 here. And what I really have is probably between 263 to 272. So that's just something to keep in mind. Thanks for checking out this video on fuel, and I'll see you later.